Okay, let's start. So, before we begin, let me just introduce myself. I am Haima Hasbi, the Marketing and E-Learning Specialist at DISS, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. So, in today's session, we will be guiding you through the core concepts of business analysis and how to leverage Power BI for effective data dashboarding, empowering you to make informed business decisions. But first, I am excited to share that all participants who stay until the end of today's webinar will receive an e-certificate of attendance recognizing your involvement in this enriching learning experience, the speaker slides, and of course, the recording. As a gesture of our gratitude for joining us, we are also offering an exclusive discount on our full course on business analysis and data dashboarding with Power BI. We will be sharing the details on how you can take advantage of this offer shortly. All right. So before we get started, let's go over some few housekeeping rules to ensure a smooth session. First, this webinar will run for approximately 60 minutes. Please keep your microphones muted during the presentation to minimize background noise. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat box anytime, and we will be having a dedicated Q&A session at the end. This session, again, is being recorded, and we will share the recording and materials after the webinar. Last but not the least, please be aware that we will be capturing screenshots and photos, which we will be sharing that across our social media platforms. So we kindly request you to turn on your camera later on. Okay? Now, let's get started. I am honored to introduce our speaker for today. Adel holds a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering and an MBA. He is a certified project management professional and an authorized PMP instructor. In addition, he holds several prestigious certifications, including PMI-ACP, Prince2, Practitioner PSM, PSPO, and Safe Scrum Master. With over 20 years of experience spanning various industries, Adele has excelled in roles as both of a project manager and a PMO manager. Alongside with his professional career, he also works as a freelance instructor and consultant, specializing in the development of project management system. Let's welcome Mr. Adel Aliaskari.
Thank you, Haima. Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's a great pleasure have you all in this webinar. On behalf of DISS, I welcome all of you to Power BI Introduction webinar. This is Adel, your presenter in this webinar. In this webinar, I'm trying to summarize my explanation in 30 or 40 minutes, and we will have a slot for question and answer for 20 minutes at the end of the session. Let me share my screen and start my introduction on Microsoft Power BI. In this webinar, I'm trying to create the big picture of the Microsoft Power BI for you. For sure, we don't have enough time to go to details and teach you the trick of trade and the detailed explanation of the Power BI. We postpone such a this discussion and explanation to the practical session and training session. My colleagues at the end of the session will share you the information for the training course of the Microsoft Power BI. But let's start and go to the main body. Let me share my screen with all of you and just want to check with you. My screen is visible for you. Is it okay? And I try to keep my chat box beside of myself. Yeah. Okay, my friends, let's start and understand who are the user of the Power BI, who is using the Power BI, and the Power BI is going to serve which category of the experts. If you are working with the data in any shape, you are the user of the Power BI. For example, you may be the financial expert that gathering the financial data every day. You may be the marketing or sales representative. You may be the project manager or project planner who are working with the project and gathering the data for the project in different shape. In any shape, if you are challenging and if you are working with data in daily basis, you are the user of the Microsoft Power BI. My friends, we remember that one day, many years ago, 20 or 15 years ago, the main problem of the business was the lack of the knowledge and the data. If they want to decide about the future, they have to search for the data in the net or they have to consult people to gather the data for them. But generally, the problem and dilemma these days change to the overloading of the data. You know that we have recorded lots of the data by our system. We gather the huge amount of the data for ourselves. We gather the minutes of our operation data in the different databases. We gather and we bombarding by the lots of the data every day. And the problem of the manager and decision makers these days in the enterprise is the huge amount of the data, and they cannot decide and they cannot understand the meaning of the data these days. Then, if you are working with the data and challenged with the huge amount of the data, then the Power BI for you. And in many industries and in many business, including the sales, human resource, procurement, logistics, project management, and etc., you can use the Microsoft Power BI. Before going to main body, let's have a fact fiction and fact check. We want to check some statements with you. I would request you to answer the statements in the chat box, and I'm checking the chat box by true or false. I know you may know nothing about the Power BI, but just we want to review your understanding of the Power BI. The first statement says that to learn Power BI, you should be expert in Excel, or in other words, you have to know the Microsoft Excel to start working on Microsoft Power BI. Is it true or false? You can answer in chat box. I'm checking the chat box. True. The first answer goes for true. I would request you all to answer this question. And if you don't have any idea, you can answer by chance. Not really. You mean false? False. True. True. Okay. Okay. Uh, so many people think that if they want to work with the Microsoft Power BI, they have to know Microsoft Excel. I'm sure all of us has a minimum level of the skills in Microsoft Excel, but my friends, frankly speaking, there is no dependency between the Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Power BI. Without any knowledge and information about the Microsoft Excel, you can start from scratch in Microsoft Power BI. And there is no predecessor and predecessors between the Microsoft Excel and Power BI. Then this statement is false. You don't need to know the Microsoft Excel to start working on Microsoft Power BI. The second statement says that, in fact, Power BI is advanced version of Excel or Microsoft Excel. True or false? True. False. True. True. Most of the answer goes for true. This is another common mistake between the people. They think that the Microsoft Power BI is the advanced version of the Microsoft Excel. In fact, the Microsoft BI is different from Microsoft Excel. In Microsoft Excel, you do the calculation, you may design the graph, or you may use it to store the data. But the Microsoft Power BI is something else. And in fact, there is no relationship, or at least direct relationship, between the Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Power BI. You may have the data in other source of the data, and you may not import the data from Excel to Power BI. For example, you may storage your data in SQL Server, or you may have your data on the web, or you may have the data in any other shape of the databases, Microsoft Azure, or anything else. And you may not need any Microsoft Excel to touch to work on the Power BI. Then this statement is false again. The Power BI is not the advanced version of Microsoft Excel. It is something completely different. The third statement says that the Power BI, this desktop, is free of charge. Or in other words, if you want to install the Microsoft Power BI, it is available for free. And the final version, not the demo version. This is true, true. Yeah, most of the question this time is right. The good news is that regardless of the Microsoft Office package that you have to pay for them and you have to buy the license to use them, Microsoft Power BI Desktop is free of charge. And I'm going to share you the address, official address for the downloading the installer file of the Microsoft Power BI. As you can see, I search in the net the Microsoft Power BI installer file. This is the official site of the Microsoft, and you can download the latest version of the Microsoft Power BI Desktop free of charge. And this is not the demo version or evaluation version. I'm copying the address in chat box. Sorry to everyone. Yeah. Yes, I shared the address of the downloading for Microsoft Power BI. You can download it in different language, and you may need to install the Microsoft Power BI desktop and report server to use it in your desktop or your organization. Anyway, both of them are free of charge, and you have no need to pay for using the Microsoft Power BI. The fourth statement says that, sorry, let me go to fourth statement. Power BI is an enterprise database to keep and storage your data. Is it true or false? The fourth statement. The fourth statement is false again. In fact, the Power BI is not the storage or the database of your system. You may enter the data from your database. The database can be Microsoft Excel, Access, I don't know, the SQL Server, Oracle, or any type of the database. And you may have the data even in the PDF files. But anyway, the Microsoft Power BI is not the placement or the holder of your data. It's using the data, but this is not the database solution from Microsoft. This is for data analysis and dashboarding. Then the answer is false. And the last question for this part is Power BI is a representation tool, sorry, presentation tool, such as Power BI. Yes, true, true, true. Okay, again, this is another common mistakes. The people think that the Power BI is a presentation tool. You may provide the presentation and the graphical report by Power BI, and you are going to do that. But in fact, the Power BI is a data analysis tool. Presentation tool is a tool such as Microsoft Power BI, not Microsoft, Microsoft PowerPoint, not Microsoft Power BI. Then this statement is false again. Let me start and goes to the main body by having and knowing this fact sheet. As the Power BI introduced itself, says that the Power BI is a collection of the software service, apps, and connector that will provide the information for gathering the data, doing the analysis, and showing the result to the viewer. The Power BI is a self-service BI solution. The BI stands for business intelligence. What the Power BI is going to provide for us, the Power BI is going to get the data from the different sources. The different sources can be the Microsoft Excel files or other source of the data. And in Power BI Desktop, you do the analysis. Before doing that, you clean your data and you may trim the data. After trimming and cleaning the data, you may have some calculation and functions for calculating the measures in your Power BI. And finally, you transfer the clean data to the enterprise environment to doing the visualization and create the visualize for your data. And after having the visualization and dashboard, you publish the Power BI result in your service or in your enterprise environment. Let's start to understand the process that we have in the Microsoft Power BI. As I told you, I'm going in this webinar to create the big picture of the Microsoft Power BI to understand what the Power BI is going for us. And also I will resolve an example as a practical example for this session and create and review rapidly the three famous steps in Microsoft Power BI. Every data analyst knowing this process, this is what happened in Microsoft Power BI, in fact, behind the scene or in front of the scene. What is the process of data analysis? We have a famous process of ETL. What is the ETL? ETL stands for extract data, T stands for transform data, and L stands for loading the data. In fact, we get the data from different sources and import them to Power BI. Then we transform data and clean the data and trim the data. Then we create the chart, reports, and visualize graph in Microsoft Power BI. And finally, we will share the result with the final users. The final user can be yourself or your manager or other stakeholders. Anyway, this is all of the things that we are processing in BI or any other tools, regardless of the Microsoft Power BI or any other BI tools. You will pass these three processes to create the data, trim the data, and also load the data. Uh, we have some tools for doing these processes. For doing the data trimming and data cleaning, we use the Power Query. This tool is shared between the Microsoft Excel and Power BI. It means that we had the initial version of the BI in Microsoft Excel, but it is past. This is the long time that the people don't create the dashboards in Microsoft Excel. And if you are doing still in Microsoft Excel, it's belonged to 20 years ago, frankly speaking. These days, the people shifted and immigrated from Microsoft Excel to Microsoft Power BI to create the dashboard and data analytics. But anyway, the Power Query was belonged to the Microsoft Excel and the Microsoft Power BI using the same environment for doing the data cleaning and the data analysis. We will see the real show of the Power Query environment in my example. After that, after importing the data to Power Query and doing the analysis, we will transfer the data to Power Query, to Power BI to create the reports, visualize, and we have lots of the options to visualize the data, and you will see the example of them. Then you may share your result in Microsoft SharePoint or Office or on the web and on the server and the enterprise of your organization. Now let's understand and see what is the other solution of the Power BI for the BI solutions. In fact, we have other solutions for BI, business intelligence. The Oracle has its own BI solution. The SAP is another famous solution for BI solution. The Microsoft Power BI is one of them, and IBM also has the other solution for the BI. You may heard another software such as a ClickView or Tableau or other things for the BI solutions, but please pay attention. I want to draw your kind attention to this categorization of the BI solution. This report is provided by the Gartner. This is the famous institute for surveying on the BI solution. As you can see, this graph is divided to four sections. In first section, we have the leaders, challengers, visionaries, and the niche players. And as you can see, the Microsoft Power BI stands as a pioneer in the leader categories. In leader categories, you have another solution for example, the ClickView, the Google, and other BI solutions. But my friends, I have seen lots of such a this question in the net that the people ask that which solution is better, Power BI or ClickView, Power BI or Tableau or something like this. In fact, there is a long time, at least 4 or 5 years, that this question is not valid anymore. This question back to many years ago. The Power BI, the initial version of the Power BI launched in 2015, 10 years ago. And in the fourth years or fifth years, they progress in parallel and shoulder by shoulder with other solutions, Tableau, ClickView, and etc. But these days, at least in recent 5 years, the Microsoft is a leader with no competitor in this placement, with no competitor in its placement. The Microsoft is the leader of the market of the BI. Then if you want to have the best solution, and fortunately, the free of charge solution of the BI, then your answer is Microsoft Power BI. Let's doing and back to the main processes that we have to task during the data analysis, ETL, I'm going to shift to the software and show you the result. But before that, we want to understand we have to expect and we have to wait for which results. Let me open some example of Microsoft Power BI reports and the final reports that we have provided in our previous training sessions. This example is one of the files that practically we work on the start from scratch with the attendees of the previous training session. This is called as the GDP. This is the example of the GDP of countries, and based on the continent, we provided this dashboard by getting the data, and I'm going to repeat this example again for you in this webinar. Just have a look on the graphs and the analysis that we provided. This is a very simple dashboard. As you can see, we have the continents at the first level of the filters, Africa, Asia, and etc. And you can see some information here. For example, the number of the countries without applying any filter, or the number of the countries of the world is 234. This information gathered from the data. And if I click, for example, on Asia, it means that I applying the filters. The difference between the Power BI reports with other reports, such as the report that you provide in Excel and share it in the PDF version, is that the graphs and the reports in Microsoft Power BI is conversational. It is the interactive report. What it means that if you click on any elements of your reports, other elements reflect to your selection. What it means, when I click on Asia, as you can see, all the information, including the number of countries, sum of GDP, and average of GDP, and also this map is focused on the Asia and reflecting to my selection. If I do on Europe, you can see the change on the information reflection on my selection. And by click here, it means I deselected and back to the global information. I can have multiple selection and etc. But the nice things here and the big difference between this report and the other report is the conversational report. The report is reflecting to your selection, and you can have the multiple data analysis by these reports. For example, I want to focus on the North America. Then in the North America, we have totally 40 countries, the sum of GDP and average of GDP showing in these cards. Let's have a look on the other tabs of this report. As you can see, we have created these tabs in this report in 4 tabs. The next one is the ranking. You can see the top 10 countries by GDP, and also lowest 10 countries by GDP. And you can see the GDP by continent in this graph. We call it as a dashboard. Generally, the dashboard is the graphical depiction of the information that are going to show the result to the viewer in only one page. We call it as the dashboard. The dashboard created by the elements of the graphical or tabular information representation. We tend to have the graphical rather than the tabular, because the audience is going to see them in 4 or 5 seconds. Just they look at the report in 5 seconds. They don't want to have for example, 15 minutes to read the line of the tabular reports. Then they tend to have the graphical rather than the tabular. We call it as the dashboard. And also you can see the time analysis. This is another difference for the time of the year in 2022, 23, and 24, and etc. And in the tree analysis, you can see the tree analysis, another type of the report that we provided in our data analysis. Now we want to understand how these fantastic reports are created. And also I have some comments that I want to share you about the report sharing with the audiences. You can share this report in the server of your enterprise, and the viewer of your report only open it in the browser without need of installation any software, without need to install the Power BI or having any report reader such as Microsoft Excel or the PDF Adobe Reader. Anything else, no need, just they open the browser. It can be the Google Chrome or any other internet browser, and they will see the result, and they have the interactive reports. Again, for example, if I click on Argentina, you can see the flag of Argentina here, and the Argentina information, including the population, land area, density of the per kilometer, and other information that I provided showing here. This is fantastic report that you can do in lots of the data that you have gathered from your business. Your business can be anything. If you are working in the project or operation or business, I'm sure you have lots of the data. You need to analyze them and you have to do such a distinct. Now let's go to the ETL process and review the ETL process for this introduction. Before that, just want to show you some information here. This is, for example, the financial information that stored in the Microsoft Excel sheet. As you can see, it's including some columns that we call these columns as the field, and some rows that we call them generally as the record, fields and records. The segment, the country, and the other things is gathered here. If someone give me this information and I consume 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 day, 2 day, or 1 week, and read them one by one, finally I cannot understand then what is the result. We are standing in good shape or bad shape. We are practicing or going down. How was the result of the, for example, this city, and how was the performance of that person, salesperson? You cannot do such these things because this is the huge volume of the information, and our brain cannot analyze such this information. We need to categorize them, we need to summarize them, and we call it as data analysis. Simply, the data analysis is going to understood and going to change the data to knowledge for us to understood by our brain or mind. This is what we expect from the BI tools and BI systems. Now I'm going to create such these things in Microsoft Power BI. But before going that, any question till now? Any question? I'm just checking the chat box. Sorry.
Hello.
We have a slot for question and answer. Maybe it is better to complete my explanation because maybe I answered your question. Sorry for that. Then I will consider the 20 minutes for question and answer. Let's start. And yeah, you cannot install the Power BI on MacBook. Your operation system must be the Microsoft Windows. Well, one of our friends asked, I'm not able to install Power BI on MacBook. Yes, there is no MacBook version. Only you have to change your operation system to Microsoft Windows, and then this is the solely product of the Microsoft, and they are working with their operation system, Windows. Then you have to upgrade your system to Windows. You have to install the Windows, then you can do it. No version for MacBook, unfortunately. Yes, I can share the Excel file for you, no problem. And also my friend in DISS is going to share the slides for you. And also the session is recorded. You can see the video after the session, no problem and no worries about that. Let me start with an empty Microsoft Power BI. Let me close this project. I have another example I will show you. Just before going to my example, just showing another example of Microsoft Power BI. This is an example that I downloaded from the Microsoft website. This is the Microsoft example of Power BI. They have lots of the example in their website. And this is very idea maker for you. If you are starting on Microsoft Power BI, I advise you to download the resources, and all of them are free from the Microsoft system. They will help you, but you have to know the process and how to create the BI system. Just want to show you another dashboard and data analysis. As I see, this is the procurement analysis sample provided by Microsoft, as I told you, showing some graphical depiction and graphs. And we know that the graphs is interactive. If I click on one of them, the other graph is reflecting my selection. And this is the spend overview and discount analysis. You can see this is very user-friendly, colorful, and very useful to see them. This is summarize the data of the sales and the procurement for one of the companies for the viewer. They don't want to swallow in the huge amount of the Excel data that I show you. Just they want to understand the categorization and the summarization of the information. Now let me start, my friends. Double click on Power BI desktop. My version is May 2024. If you want to download the Microsoft Power BI, my advice to you is to provide the report server, because you have the usual version and also report server version of the Microsoft Power BI. Then my advice to you is to download the report server because you want to share your result after creating the dashboard, and the report server would be more practical. Okay, my friends, this is the project that I want to start from scratch. As you can see, this is the welcome page of the Microsoft Power BI. At first, I want to get the data, or I want to pass the extract the data. The extract the data means gathering the data or get the data. Here is the placement of the get the data, and as you can see, there is a long list of the available file types to import to your Microsoft Power BI. If I click on more, let me move my slicer there. Sorry. Yeah. As you can see, there is a long list of the file type that you can import as a source of the data to Microsoft Power BI. The Excel file is the famous of them. Generally, we save our data in Microsoft Excel. You may have your data in text file. You may have your data in the PDF version. Even it is possible to import the PDF, the information that you save as a PDF. You may have your data in the Microsoft Access, a database of the Microsoft. SQL Server is another type of a database. And as you can see, you can import the data from the SharePoint or from Azure or from the web or so many other things. And for the people who are working in the projects and you are working with Primavera P6 or Microsoft project, it is possible to connect the database of the Primavera P6 and import the data from your Primavera P6 here to visualize your data and project progress and show the reports to the people. I don't forget that I created the managerial report for my project in my organization and show the result to the viewer. The first response and feedback that I received was that one of the managers told me, you have created a website for your project. In fact, I have not created the website. Just because they opened the report in the browser, they thought that I have created the website of the project. In fact, I connected the Primavera P6 to Microsoft Power BI, created some reports there and shared them in the server of our organization. Now, for example, let's continue by my example. I want to take a very simple example. For example, I want to have an analysis on the countries by GDP. GDP stands for gross domestic production. This is one of the metrics that show the economic status of the countries. And I want to get this data from the web. Just let me search the countries by GDP. And you can see the results here. There are lots of the website that's showing and giving the countries by GDP. The first one is Wikipedia. Let me open the Wikipedia. The nice things is that you can connect with the source of the data and directly get the data from the web into your system. Like, as you can see, this is the list of the data. This is the IMF, International Monetary Fund statistics, World Bank statistics, and United Nations statistics. It seems fine. Let me connect this information to my Power BI. Okay. Now I want to get the data from the internet or from the web. Let me search in the files, in the import files, and find the web. Sorry, let me find it. Yes, it's here from the web. Okay. I click here. I'm doing the extract data. I'm getting the data. Okay. Now I copy the address of this website by Control C back here and press Control V to copy the address here. Now Power BI is going to connect with this website. It's trying to read the information and find the tables in this website. And as you can see, they found some files. You can click on them and see the preview of them here. It seems non-related to my meaning. This one can be the file that I'm looking for that. And the next one is irrelevant as well. Okay, then I click on this table and select it and click on transform data. Back to my slides, I told you the extract or data cleaning is doing in the Power Query environment. And my friends, when you click on the transform data, you divert to the Power Query environment. This is the cleaning room. I call it cleaning room for the data. What is meaning of the cleaning? Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to explain what action and what cleaning data you can do it here. But just to show you something, for example, look at the first row. This is the country and territory. Okay, this is not the name of the country. It must be the row header. Then I select this row and use the first row as a header. And this row is shifting up and showing as a row header, the country, IMF, and etc. The second one is the same things, okay? And I don't need this record as well. Then I want to delete it from my source of data. What I'm doing, don't forget that I'm cleaning the data in Power Query. This is called the cleaning the data in Power Query. Then I remove the first top row. Just want to show you few application of Power Query data cleaning. And also, I don't need the information of IMF. The World Bank is enough for me. Then this field or column and also World Bank 2 and this column is not usable for me. I selected them and by right click, they remove the columns. I only have the name of the, and also this word is not a country. This is the total amount of the word, and I don't need it as a result. Then let me remove this row as a result. Remove the top row, the first row. Now it's the clean data. Okay, this is the clean data, and you have to do so many other things. We will review all of them in the practical session of the training, but unfortunately, my time here is strictly limited. I'm trying to just show you the application of the data cleaning. We assume that this data is cleaned. And what is the difference by copying this data? You may ask me. It was possible to copy this data in Microsoft Excel and do the same things here. Am I right? But the main difference between the Power Query and cleaning data in Microsoft Excel is that, my friend, my steps here recorded. It means the recorded means that one day, 2 weeks later, 1 month later, in any other period, this data is updated for next year, for example, or for next quarter. And I want to get this data again from this source of the data. No need to repeat these steps again to add, remove, and change the data. By just click on the refresh, all the data is cleaning on the shape that I provided here. Okay, this is the big difference between cleaning data in Power Query, and also the function is more rather than the Microsoft Excel to cleaning the data. But the main difference between them is that the steps is recorded here and no need to repeat them again. By click on close and apply, you transfer your data to Microsoft Power BI, and it's going to transfer the data to the Microsoft Power BI. And I want to show you the different type of the import that is possible to get the data. For example, another source of my data is Microsoft Excel. Which Microsoft Excel? Let me just show you the Excel. I have a list of the countries by continent. For example, look at here. Algeria is belonging to the Africa and so on. It's listed all the countries for the world. In practical, it can be, for example, the data that you gather from Microsoft, from Oracle Primavera P6 for project progress, and the monthly statement that you provided in Microsoft Excel. You can bring all of them together in one environment in Power BI. This time I want to get the data, but the source of data this time is Excel workbook. I click here and going to this one, and again click on transfer the data. It's reading the data. This sheet is the only sheet that was available. No need for going to clean the data. I assume that this data is cleaned because I want to save the time. And load the data here, okay? Just I want to review the extract data. My friends, I have two island of the data. Island means there is no relationship between them. The data that I gather from the Wikipedia about the GDPs, the data about the continent, and let me change the name of this table to the continent, okay? In the next step of the data cleaning and data modeling, you have to create your data model. Look at here, this is the different tables that I bring the information and data to my model, but I have to create the relationship together and I have to link them together to create the bridge between these island. To create a bridge and link this island together, you have to create a relationship. We have lots of the discussion and explanation about the data modeling in practical sessions, but just to give you the keyword, you may have the star model for the creation of the relationship between the tables. You may have the queue or line model for creating the relationship between the tables and etc. But just here, as a rapid, I want to. It was better to back to the data transform data just because I want to check something. It's named as column one and column two, and I don't know what is the column one and column two. Okay, let me just bring the yes row name for them, close and apply. Now I know that the first line is column one, continent, and second column is the country. I want to connect the country of this table to country of this table, okay? To create the relationship between them. And it says that the country field from the first table is going to link with the country for the second level, the second table, because we want to have the related tables to create the data model. We are creating our data model. Now I assume that I completed the first two steps. I get the data, and just to show you the different source of the data, I imported from the web and from Excel. I transform the data in Power Query, clean the data, and also create my data model by creation of the relationship between the tables. Now it is time to load the data. For load the data, I back to the Power BI, and now I have the availability of the tables that related together here. For example, let me add a card here, and this is the visuals and the different type of the visuals available here. By click on any of them, one of them that is empty added to your system, and you can bring the information of these fields, we call it these tables and different to the field of the visual to see the result. For example, I bring the fields of the countries here, and I want to see the count. Okay, as you can see, 229. It means that the number of the countries in my data, including 229. And also, I want to have the continent as another visual in my view. Let me, for example, add the continent as a slicer. Click here and click on a slicer and drag and drop the continent here. And just to show you, as you can see, this is the selected list. At first, I don't want to have the blank here. Then let me have some change on the fields of this filter or slicer. I want to see all of them except the blank. We have no blank continent. The continent must be one of these six, okay? Now, if I click on any of these selection, for example, Asia, you can see the other slicer that bring from the different table reflecting to my selection. The countries of Asia is 52. The countries of North America is 37. And you can add another visual one by one. And by setting the field of them, you will create your dashboard. You will create your dashboard. For example, just as a latest things here, I want to see this list as a cards. What is the cards? If you come here and change the vertical list to tile, and just to change the size of them, and increase the font size, the text. This is the hero. Border, for example, I choose another one. You can see I changed my list to the tile or slicer. I click on them, you can see the result here. The last thing that I want to show you, it was a very brief introduction and very rapid introduction. I'm keeping the time of the webinar, and sorry. Yeah, we are going to sum up this webinar in 10 minutes, but I will request my colleagues at DISS if you need more time to ask your question, We will keep the time for you. Just the last thing is that just show you the result publication and how the viewer will see these results. Let me back to the previous dashboard that I created in practical session. I mean this one, okay? The GDP by the countries. And also to create and to analyze the data, you may need to write down the DAX formula. I will teach you the DAX formula in the practical session. The DAX formula is a data analysis and expression language. This is abbreviation of the DAX. This DAX formula including near 250 functions, and the functions are very powerful to do the data analysis. By knowing the 50 or 60 function, you will cover 80 or 90% of your requirement in the business, for sure. Then we will work on this 50 or 60 DAX formula in the practical session to know how to do the data analysis to create such a DISS report. Just to show you the result, just I want to save as this dashboard in Power BI. I already set up my BI server, okay? By click on OK, I selected the GDP and click on OK. I already created that. Do you want to overwrite it? Yes, I confirm the overwrite. It takes few seconds, and you will publish this report in the server of your organization, or you may publish this report on the web, and you will give the link to the viewer, and they will go to the to see this result such as this. Look at here, take me there, and in my browser in Microsoft, in the Google Chrome, I can see these reports, very practical and very attractive. And this is their interactive report. It means that it's showing and it's reflecting by my selection. And in the design tabs, in the ranks, you can see the other graphs. In the tree analysis, you can see the other results, and so on. This is what I want to teach you very briefly and introduce you the application and the power of the Microsoft Power BI. And my friends, the main difference between the BI, Microsoft Power BI, and the other BI tools is that, for example, if you want to create a dashboard and do the data analysis in SAP or Oracle, you have to enlist the help from the IT expert. For sure, you don't have enough knowledge to work with the SAP as an expert. But the statement of the Microsoft Power BI is that using and creating the dashboard by yourself. For example, it means that if you are the financial expert, you have to create your dashboard and report by yourself without the enlist the help from any IT person. If you are a project manager or salesperson, you have to create your report and do the data analysis for yourself, by yourself, without enlist the help from any other ones. This is the main difference between the Power BI and the other tools. Sorry for the high speed of the explanation because my time was strictly limited. I tried to create the big picture for you. I'm at your service with question and answer part. I already answered this question. When you share this, how will it look to receiver? You saw the receiver's view. It's showing in the browser, and as you design in your Power BI with no difference. But just no need to install any other software. They don't need to install the Power BI or any other report viewer. The result will show in their browser. I'm checking the chat box, my friend. If you have any question, you can write down your question and I will go to your question. Any question, my friends? I'm at your service. How to remove blank cells, if any? Yeah, you mean in the Power Query. You mean in the Power Query, how you want to remove the blank cells, okay? You have to back to your transform data or Power Query environment, and you have the option there to replace the data, okay? By transferring the data, you direct to the Power Query, or as I call it, the cleaning room. For example, one of your rows or lines is blank. Then you can remove the blanks from the options here, or you can replace the data by the options here. Replace value. You can click on replace value. You can change the blank dates, or you can apply the filters. For example, I don't have any blank data yet, but blank must be one of this selection. If you deselect the blank rows, it means that when you want to transfer the data from here to the main environment, the blank rows are omitted automatically and do not show in the result. This is how you can transfer the data. And don't forget that this is the recorded step for data cleaning. It means that the next time, no need to filter the blank rows again. How to add country flags on the dashboards? Yeah, good question. It was one of the customized graphical that I loaded from the internet. My friends, to extend my answer to this question, I have to say this statement that your graphs or visual is not limited to this list. You can click here and import visual from file or get more visuals. You will direct to the Power BI website. Just need to sign up for free. Okay, to sign up there, you have to sign up by your official email. The only condition is that the Yahoo or Google email is not accepted. But anyway, you can sign up by an official email free of charge, and you can download the huge list of the visualizer here or there. The flag of the country that you see here, when I select any countries out of the list, you can see its flag here. This is another visualizer that I downloaded from the Power BI website and added to my model. You may have, for example, the Gantt chart, so many other things based on your requirement. The visualize almost limitless. You can download and add so many other things to your visual. This is a visual that I added here. Any question on auto service? How many charts can be added in a single worksheet? Good question. Another good question. My friends, I told you we are going to create a dashboard for our viewer. We will discuss about it in the details. For example, as you refer to my material in the main course, I have shown you some good and bad graphical depictions. The dashboard commonly defined as a view that you don't need to scroll it down to see all the elements of it. Then by maximum, you have to put 6 to 8 elements or graph in a dashboard. If you put more than 8 elements in a dashboard, it may be the confusing, and also the viewer need to scroll down. Generally, the expert says that the dashboard should not need to scroll down to see the result, and it's showing in only once page and in the single view. Then the best amount or the best number of the graphs in a dashboard is 6 to 8. But we will review lots of the scenarios about the dashboarding and number of the visuals in the dashboard. But there is no limitation for them. Regardless of the Power BI, no limitation. Don't confuse and don't make the mistake. But regardless of the Power BI, no limitation. But by the dashboarding skills, 6 to 8 is the best amount. If the candidates will attend the training, the software will be provided. Yes, for sure, we will provide the software, we will provide the material, and also so many workbook for the practical session and the example for the practical session. The session is the practical. It means that we will have lots of the scenarios together. I will share you the data in Microsoft Excel generally, and also in the Access, Microsoft Access. I will share you the sample data. We will work on this sample data, and we will provide all of them for you. Is it necessary to learn Power Query first before Power BI? My friends, the training session covering both of them. The Power Query is part of the Power BI for data cleaning. When you want to have the process out of the ETL or extract the data, you need to clean the data. And the Power Query already included in Power BI. It means that when you install the Power BI, the Power Query installed behind the scene and automatically. And as a data analyst, yes, the answer is yes. You have to learn the Power Query. And also you have to learn the DAX expression, as I told you. But all of them are in the real training time. And we will start with the extracting data. We will work with the Power Query for lots of the scenarios and example, and you will learn it. I have only MacBook and cannot buy a new laptop to learn Power BI. You can install the Microsoft Windows on your MacBook as well. I have seen lots of my friends have MacBook, but they have the Microsoft Windows as a system operator. But unfortunately, as I told you, there is no MacBook version for Power BI. There are competitors of each other. You know that. Can you please show how to merge two different Excel files into one? Yeah, for sure. I will back here. Uh, In fact, we don't merge two Excel files together. We put both of them as a table in our model and create the relationship between them or link the tables together. This is how we merge the different and separated islands together. We don't merge the tables together. We link the tables together to create the model. And no need to merge all the Excel files to the one table. No need, because you may had lots of the information that you want to calculate in the separated table, but you want to transfer the data between the table or between the island. Then we create the bridge between the islands by relationship between them. Okay, my friends, any question? I'm at your service. Learn DAX, which is better? Any document from your side to share? In the practical session, I will share you the reference book for the DAX, and it's include all the DAX function. But I told you by learning 50 or 60 function of the DAX, you will cover and respond 80 or 90 percentage of the business requirement. It means that, for example, if you know 50 or 60 DAX function, most of the almost all of your requirements will be covered, and we will review them in our practical session. What are fees? You have to talk with my colleagues in DISS. The information will be shared with you after the webinar. You can contact them, and they're ready to instruct you about the schedule, about the fees, and the cost of. For those who are ready to join the course, I have attached. Yeah, this is my colleague Elmi. Okay, my friends, we are going to summarize and wrap this webinar in few minutes. If you have any question, I'm still at your service. And also, if you want to ask another question, my colleagues at DISS are ready to answer your questions. You can contact them. And also, the video and the material of this webinar will share with you, as my friends told you. And also, you can find the detailed course outline in our website about the Power BI and any other training course that we are provided. Thank you again, all friends, for attending in this webinar. I hope I could create the big picture of Power BI and the capability and ability of the Power BI to do the data analysis and data dashboarding for you. And I hope to see you in the training course and another webinars. Thank you very much again, my friends, and have a good evening and have a good weekend. Thank you again.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Mr. Adel, for that insightful presentation. So, guys, I think that's it, and that brings us to the end of our webinar. So, as mentioned a while ago, if you have more questions, feel free to, get in touch with us, feel free to visit our website as well, diss.com.qa, or you can send us an email, any queries you might have regarding this course. Just email info@diss.com.qa. So before we wrap up, here are a few quick reminders. Again, the recording and slides will be sent to your email as promised. If you'd like to learn more about our upcoming training sessions, especially in this course, the Power BI and Business Analytics, just contact us again at info@diss.com.qa. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for updates and future webinars. We hope you found this session valuable. Have a great day and see you at our next event. Stay safe and keep analyzing. Thank you.